My name's Johnny Marchino, work with Winfield United, and today you're at the Chemical Mode of Action tent. So our goal here is to educate you about everything new and exciting that's coming. So pay attention.
Thank you, Johnny. I'm Mike Michel, Superior Ag, working in agronomy sales. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out today and taking the investment for here and for yourself. Like Johnny said, we're chemical mode of action. We've got some things to talk about and go over, and sometimes this isn't the most glorified discussion and most excitement, but it's something we got to manage every day. And we're very passionate about this in our jobs as weed control, but it's not as exciting every day.
Yeah, and the good news is there's really nothing new coming. So pay attention. So how many times in your life you guys wish you could do something different? Got a couple nodding their head? So telling your kid you loved them, maybe picking out a wife, a few of them, or husband. Maybe it's something as simple as putting on sunscreen. So several of you have kids, been around kids. Sunscreen is a lot like chemicals. You want to pick out for a baby, you want to put something strong on them. A good SPF, a 65, 70, something strong that's going to protect them. Maybe for a few of you that are a little more weathered, we're going to pick a 30%. And then for some of you, there's one in every crowd. You know what this is. This is the aloe. This is the, it'll be better my way guy. Just like in weed control, we got big dollars, middle dollars, and I got to go spray water hemp on August 10th for $40, $50, $60. So we've all been there, we've all made mistakes, and one of the conversations we want to have today is talking about residuals, talking about our post options, our rates, our setup rates, and making sure that we get you guys the best return on investment. So what kind of weeds do you guys all have issues with? Water hemp, that's the hot button. What else do you guys have? Johnson grass. I heard a mare's tail. Burr cucumbers. Yeah, you guys are naming all the fun ones. So these are all weeds that, what have we been spraying for the last 20 years on them? Glyphosate, time and time again. So we already know that glyphosate's not the answer to all of our problems, so we need to be using stronger residuals. Iowa State says that in 4-inch tall weeds, we're going to get a 2% loss in corn. 6-inch tall weeds, we're going to lose 6% of yield. I'm not real good at math. We got guys in here that are raising 200, 220, 250 plus bushel corn. And right there, we're talking about 10 plus bushel pretty easy. That's a lot of dollars. Even at today's prices, we're talking, 50-ish dollars. So whenever we're sitting down in the summer and looking at how our weed control did, we need to remind ourselves in the winter, whenever we're getting ready to start cutting prices, we all know that, hey, what can I do to save some money? Let's go from 6 ounces to 5 ounces, and can we adjust this, and can we do this? Well, next thing you know, here we are again. We're spending $40, $50, $60 in June, July, August because we didn't use a high enough setup residual. So, Mike?
Yep, and that's where Johnny's talking about residuals. Why we know that the residual application is very important is because when it comes to your post application, which we all like to go kill weeds and mix up a batch, you think, well, you look at the mode of action classification chart, and we've got tons of options, a lot of good options on there. A lot of those still control water hemp today. kind of pick on water hemp because that seems to be everybody's top of their mind trouble weed. We've got many modes of action. We've got different classifications, families. Like we can do a good job. But the problem is we already have some of those on that chart that's showing resistance to water hemp. A lot of you guys have seen that in the past already with PPOs, and that takes that out of the play. Roundup on grasses, maybe on, especially on water hemp. So when you really dig into our options, HPPD came in corn a few years ago, and it's been great. There's already HPPD resistance to water hemp in other states. Not all these are right here in our backyard or Indiana yet, but somewhere in the U.S., we already have water hemp resistant to 8 modes of action that we use every day. Some of those, we started out PPOs, ALS. A lot of those, we feel like we've been down that road, but our newer ones that came along that's done a good job are getting there also. So that's where, when you talk about the resistance and understanding the residual piece, that's where I know it kind of looks like we put a cover crop plot demonstration on back here, but this is actually an old-fashioned bare ground study to basically imitate weeds. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure here, so we seeded a cover crop blend and sprayed soil residual herbicides to show a few things, the horsepower of them, the modes of action, what it can take out, what it holds back. And the big one here, which we didn't know how much we'd learned, but we learned a lot, was all about the amount of water activation that it takes for these products to work properly. So it rained here about 6/10 of an inch on June 11th. So they come in, tilled it up. Isaac planted a cover crop blend, an annual rye, oats, field peas, white clover, bird's foot trefoil, grass, and broadleaf species to understand what we're trying to do with our residual herbicides. Like a lot of you guys at home, didn't rain much in June. So get a little bit of rain here, 1/10 of an inch on 6/19, almost a half inch here on 6/25. Maybe we had enough rain to activate a couple of these actives in some of these products. But some of our big products that help hold things back that take over a half inch of rain, we did not get that. So now we're sitting here 6/29. Finally, we got the big rain. Hopefully you guys all got in on that. So we get a big rain. Now we got time. We got the right amount of water to actually activate some of these products. So now we're here on 6/29 taking pictures right after the rain. And you're looking at the products and like, well, some things held some back, got a few escapes. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, and this is on the corn product side, and Johnny has a soybean, there's nothing that's holding near as good as it should. And it just comes back to the fact that we did not get the rain in time to activate. We've got escapes. A lot of you might have saw the same thing. And this just gets back to the timing of our rainfall to help these products work properly.
Yeah, so Mike just told us we got some rain. That was 6/29. But here we are on 7/1, a couple days later. What do we have still? We still got a lot of green. It's not working, Mike. You lied to me. Well, we got to be patient with everything in life. And 10 days later, we're starting to see a lot of activity. We're starting to see a lot of root interception, some of these different chemistries, and we're starting to see some HPPD reach back. And what we've learned from this, every year we get, it seems like every year we keep running into another scenario of, should we spray, should we not spray, what should we do? Well, what we learned this year is keep spraying. We'll get rain eventually, and even in the worst case scenarios, we're going to see that product activate and get some root interception and some uptake. Now, keep in mind back here, this did not have any post-treatment. This was a residual only application. So if we start to see products, we got really good uptake, cleaned up the plots pretty good for a little bit. So one of the things we did see, you got anything else you want to hit on this one, Mike?
Well, just if you kind of take a look around a little bit of the here, and these are these products are all here, and then they're flip-flop on the other side, so we've got two, and that's why you see the pictures on there twice. But if you start looking around and see where we've got the best control, there's a few things that Resicor has in common with Trivolt and Zidua Pro, corn and soybean products, but they all have what, Johnny?
Multiple modes of action. And not one, not two, but several of these are 3, 4, and 5. The products that we see up here that have some of the best residual control, like we got Zidua Pro, Resicor, Trivolt you mentioned, and then we're spiking them with atrazine. We're talking about 4 modes of action on several of these. So the key takeaway is multiple modes of action. We stack the deck in our favor so that if we do get into a dry period, different germination, we're not going to have these issues with a lot of weeds getting away and getting escaped. So a lot of, yeah, yep, 1.5. Should say out here on the chart somewhere.
It's on that one chart.
Okay, so 1.5 pounds. But one thing that I want to pick on here, I'll pick on it because it's one of our products, Charger Max. Charger Max is a great product. You guys have all used it in the past, I'm sure. Charger Max is our private label, but it's a dual SMOC. Well, doesn't look that hot. You go back in time, doesn't look real hot there either. You continue on, it ain't gonna get any prettier. Does anybody know why? Charger Max is a group 15 along with several other products, but a group 15 is a root and shoot inhibitor. So what we had in this scenario, whenever you're using a standalone mode of action, what we had was these weeds were germinating. A group 15 doesn't really have any reach back. Once that weed's germinated, it's creating a barrier to stop and protect some other weeds. But once it happens with a standalone, you're out, you're on your own. So stacking up multiple modes of action. A lot of you guys will use a Charger Max or a similar product. Our guys and a lot of our people at Superior Ag, we're going to pair that with another product like an atrazine, like an incinerate. We might sell you a single mode of action, but a single mode of action chemistry, but in the tank, whenever you're going to the field, there'll be multiple modes in there. So that's one of the things that we definitely want to make sure that we take away from this.
And that leads up to our post. We didn't do a post here, but you come in with your post application to clean up. All residuals aren't going to be 100%, so we have to terminate those weeds. Hopefully we can do that on a weed timing height to where our post options in HPPD or in soybeans, your Enlist or your Dicamba or your Liberty, those options work really well, but we have to have the good environmental factors for them to work. And now we know you guys can't manage the weather, but anytime we can spray our post early and layer another residual, our options get pretty limited. We're down to your Chargers, your Ziduas, some of those that are crop safe that go after the grass and broadleaves, but trying to plan that to where we can get that application down early enough that we can catch the rain to actually get ahead of germinating water hemp in a small crop. And Zidua, for instance, it takes a little over ½ inch of rain to activate properly. So not that you can make it rain, but just trying to plan a little accordingly if we're going to make this application, maybe with the weather forecast to help us make all that work properly.
Yeah. So this chart right here to me represents the spring. We all go out, everyone gets that perfect weather event. It's early April. You look at the weather, let's start spraying. Weatherman says it's all going to be perfect. We'll get planted, we'll be done, everything will be washed, put away. And, that's every farmer's dream. But every year it never fails. Here we are. It starts raining. Seems like here lately we've been stuck in a weather pattern where it rains for 1 week, then it dries up for about 4 minutes, then it rains another week. Next thing you know, in the spring, you're 45 days and your residuals laid out there the whole time. So what Mike's saying is we want to make sure if you lay your residual out early, I wouldn't get too far ahead of the planter, or make darn sure that you're going to be in there soon and that you can get it done, because we need to be freshening this up. Everyone remembers whenever we first came out with warrant, we always would say 21 to 28 days. Let's go out, let's layer that residual. 21 to 28 days is not 45. We're not going to be happy. So we all remember, I'm a graphic guy in my memory, but water hemp, whenever it first came, what's the picture that everyone here remembers? For me, it was a picture coming out of the South, had a whole crew out there, they're cutting water hemp out and they're taking it to the end of the field and they're burning it. I'm not built for that. Does anyone else want to do that on their spare time? No. So we need to make sure that we're layering a residual. We're putting out, we all pat ourselves on the back. Johnny, I used a residual this year. But yeah, you used a half rate of the half rate. We need to take maybe that 2 ounces. We know that 4 ounces is what we needed, but we know that, hey, I'm going to be out and I'm not going to be able to plant for 30 days. Maybe we should use six ounces. None of us want to go out and spend that money on a rescue trip. So that extra few dollars on the front spent on a residual is well worth it.
Thank you guys very much for joining us. Does anyone have any questions? Yep. So the question was, even though we've got resistance to Roundup, do we still want to put it in our mix? And I think, our answer would be is Roundup is still a very effective way to control most grasses. And we're not saying that we still don't get a little bit of activity on some water hemp and things. So we think that Roundup and surfactants to help Roundup get into the plant well are very well spent, even though there's some resistance. Johnson grass, we question a little bit of maybe we need to go back to some clethodim or some different things and mix it up. But there's Johnson grass that is resistant to clethodim in other states. So it's one thing to keep an eye on too.
Yeah. Yep. And guys, I think we're about wrapped up, but prevention is key. I mean, I know everyone's maybe had a scare, something on their nose, something on their ear. You guys got a water hemp alongside the lane that's 4.5, 5 foot tall. Let's stop and cut it down. So you guys might be doing something for your grandkids. I mean, imagine having an 8-way resistant water hemp. We've been pretty lucky around here, but prevention is key. Let's keep them from coming up. And thank you guys all for coming today.